माननीय सभासदों, माननीय सभापति जी,
माननीय सदस्यगण, नियम 377 के अधीन मामलों को सभा पटल पर रखा जाएगा। जिन सदस्यों को नियम 377 के अधीन मामलों को आज उठाने की अनुमति दी गई है और जो उन्हें सभा पटल पर रखने के इच्छुक है, वे 20 मिनट के भीतर मामले का पाठ व्यक्तिगत रूप से सभा पटल पर भेज दें। केवल उन्हीं मामलों को सभा पटल पर रखा माना जाएगा जिनके लिए मामले का पाठ निर्धारित समय के भीतर सभा पटल पर प्राप्त हो गया हो। शेष को व्यक्तिगत माना जाएगा। आइटम नंबर 16, अनुदानों की पूरक मांगे। माननीय शशि थरूर जी।
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir. I very much want to present my party's views on the supplementary demands for grants 2021-22 presented before this House by the Honourable Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman. Now, we're all gathered here, sir, at a time when our nation's economy continues to battle the significant forces of disruption that have been set in motion by the COVID-19 pandemic and which can trace their way back in our country to the disaster of demonetization 3 years earlier. While we all applaud the heroic efforts of our nation's healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, and other members of the medical fraternity, the truth is, sir, the virus combined with the short-sighted policy decisions of this government has ushered in a period of uncertainty for the economic revival of the country. And I have to say, sir, that we have been seeing crises everywhere we look. The foundations of the economy have been laid low ever since demonetization. And let's face it, the star performers that have been affected by the pandemic include the tourism and service industries, which are devastated, the backbone of the economy, agriculture, MSMEs, both in crisis. And as I pointed out during the budget debate in February, the government has given us then, I'm afraid, and continued to, the usual combination of high rhetoric, grand ambition, exaggerated numbers, and unrealistic targets, all diluted with underwhelming allocations to crucial sectors. The very fact that the Finance Minister has come back to us with such a large supplementary demand for grants testifies to this. The government had budgeted a total expenditure of 34.83 lakh crores in fiscal year 22. But spending has defeated the estimates and excess expenditure has brought the Finance Minister back to the House with this new request. The gross additional expenditure she seeks is over 1.87 lakh crores, of which 23,675 crores will be the actual cash outgo. Of this, more than 80% of the extra net cash outgo has been directed to 5 specific items. The largest of these being the equity infusion into Air India Assets Holding, over 62,000 crores, followed by substantive additional subsidy for fertilizer, 58,000 crores, and food, almost 50,000 crores, followed by a large allocation for the clearance of past dues owed to exporters, and finally a modest boost to the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Now, let me share with the Honourable Minister that we in the opposition can understand the need for critical government spending as a result of the pandemic. But as we have repeatedly pointed out, sir, including during the last budget debate, the government must stop presenting unrealistic targets to this House and offer much more transparent numbers to the country. I have had the privilege of pointing out here that the macroeconomic figures presented by the Honourable Minister in February had to be greeted with healthy skepticism, and I'm afraid her supplementary demand for grants merely confirms the suspicions and apprehensions I voiced 10 months ago. Now, the supplementary demands for grants clearly indicates a gross miscalculation on the part of the government on expected expenditure, and in so doing, it essentially insults Parliament. It undermines the control of Parliament over the budget by going over and above beyond what had been sanctioned at the government's own request and which we have told the government at the time was not realistic. Now, the additional demands confirm that it is unlikely that the government will be able to stick to its claim of a 9.5% fiscal budget deficit, which itself, of course, was an increase from 6% last year. The current cash outgo clearly shows that the government will be unable to stick to its own claim target of capping the fiscal deficit at 6.5% of GDP, 6.8% they revised it to. They're not going to meet that, so they're going to exceed that. The government's confidence in meeting this was already, I think, really fading last month when the Finance Secretary made a comment about it being unlikely to be achieved. But we know about COVID, we knew about COVID, so blaming COVID is not good enough, sir. Unrealistic estimates were announced in February. We knew about COVID at that time. But what does it say about the government that data today shows that the total government debt as a percentage of GDP for both centre and states has risen from 70% in March 2019, which was bad enough, to 90% by March 2021, sir, which is much higher than the 60% recommended target that has been recommended by the FRBM Review Committee back in 2017. Now, the gap between expected revenue and expenditure is likely to widen further. Why? Because disinvestment has not made the progress the government rationally predicted for it. In fact, if you look at the disinvestment target of 1.7 lakh crores, it's going to be missed by a large margin, a very large margin. The privatization of BPCL is not expected to be completed till fiscal year 23, and all of this, of course, doesn't even take into account the estimated 65,000 crores in the potential revenue foregone from their calculations because of their recent cuts in fuel taxes. Now, this is not altogether new from this government, sir. They've repeatedly failed to meet their disinvestment targets in 4 of the 6 years since 2014. And the 2 years where they did meet it was through the slightly comical arrangement of getting one PSU to buy shares from another PSU. That track record, sir, extends this year as well. At the end of October, according to the Controller General of Accounts, the government has only managed to raise 9,333 crores. And while a lot was said about the sale of the aircraft carrier, of the national airline, Air India, to the Tata Group, a significant component of those demands for grants, the ones that before us today, sir, reflects 62,057 crores for Air India Asset Holding Company Limited, which carries the burden of the majority of the debt the carrier was under. In other words, sir, if people think that by privatizing Air India, the burden of a loss-making airline is off the hands of the taxpayers, they better think again, because we are going to be carrying that burden, sir, for a long time to come. The government remains liable for nearly 46,000 crores of accumulated debt, and that debt has therefore been passed to the taxpayer. So Achhe Din is going to be a while coming, sir, no question about it. If it comes at all. Perhaps with a change of government we might see it. Now, the economic distress, sir, that we've been seeing because of the pandemic has also disproportionately affected rural India. And again, we had pointed out, sir, I'm proud to say in my budget speech, I'd made a big issue of this, the lack of allocations and the cuts that were imposed on MNREGA, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, sir. Today, some money has been requested. I'm sure this House will gladly grant it. But is it enough, or is it too little too late? At a time of record levels of demands for work, let's not forget, sir, unemployment today is at the worst levels ever recorded since they began recording unemployment figures. So at that time, a lot of people have come under the MNREGA scheme saying, please give us work. And the government, in its wisdom, actually slashed allocations for the scheme by a shocking 35% in the budget that we approved last year, earlier this year. In fact, in August last year, over 24.2 million households requested work under MNREGA, a 66% hike from the same period in 2019. But with the government slashing allocations, sir, we have seen a real problem. And I'm sorry to say that with 4 months still remaining in the current financial year, the government's own financial statements show a negative net balance of 10,244 crores in Manrega, including payments due. Sorry to say, this is a government-made disaster, Mr. Chairman. And so the fact is that the current proposed supplementary allocation of rupees 22,039 crores reveals how the government continues to grossly underestimate the importance of Manrega as a lifeline, sir, a lifeline to rural India. And it remains 50% short of expert estimates that have been saying for a whole year now that we need at least 50,000 crore rupees to meet the current levels of demand for Manrega due to continued rural distress in our country. Merely allocating funds is also not enough because there's no clarity from the union government on when the funds will be released so that the states can actually process payments to those who have done the work. Even with this new infusion of 22,039 crore, the new total expenditure under Manrega would increase to only 95,000 crore, which is 14% below the revised estimates of 1,11,500 crores for fiscal year 2021. So how can we applaud the government, sir, for giving 14% less than was revised estimates of last fiscal year at a time when the need and the demand is actually much greater than it's ever been? I think the government has once again undershot its target. In fact, it's estimated that out of 6.77 crore people who demanded work under Manrega this year, 5.87 crores only got employment. So there's an unmet demand of almost a crore people, 13.25%, who haven't got work. The ones who've got work haven't been paid on time. But the ones who haven't got work, what do we do about them, sir? The government has failed to provide employment to those in need. It's failed to give them unemployment allowances mandated by the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005. Okay, so we'll turn again then away from agriculture, where the government has again let us down in this way, turn to the railways, because railways, as you know, is already featuring in the current supplementary demands for grants. The fact is that the government's repeated attempts to hide behind rhetoric in matters of serious policy making and governance really has again been apparent when it comes to the railway budget. They've asked for 20,000 crores more for the railways, but we'll all recall, sir, that in the budget of this year, the Ministry of Railways was allotted a large sum of money, a record sum in the Finance Minister's words. She announced a mega rail plan for the budget speech, released a national rail plan targeting India 2030, broad ambitions and targets that were released, clearly stated by the Finance Minister. But the government appears to have grossly underestimated the funding required to fulfill these targets. Further, sir, the nature of allocations and reappropriations under the second batch of supplementary demands for grants reveals that the priorities of the Railway Ministry has been completely reworked. The whole budget will have to be completely reworked to the tune of 40,000 crores, and we're looking at reappropriating existing grants for 20,000, then 20,000 new today, and at the end of it, what are we looking at, sir? We're looking at a report of the Controller and Auditor General, the CAG, telling the government that there is a need for more realistic estimation of supplementary requirements by the Ministry of the Railways. Apparently, the Ministry of Railways had obtained supplementary grants of 817.5 crore earlier in anticipation of higher expenditure, but the final expenditure was even less than the original provisions. I'm quoting from the CAG report, sir, and they say that they really need to be more realistic in calculating their numbers. This is something we have been saying in this House time and again with the government's budget numbers, sir. Now, despite obtaining these supplementary demands, the final expenditure remained below the original budget estimates for the year, and yet the Railway Ministry also incurred unsanctioned expenditure of over 5,000 crores in 2019 fiscal year, another 500 crores in 2020, which means that the ministry's finances are, to put it mildly, sir, in a shambles. What are the other misses in this budget? If you look, sir, that I mentioned Manrega when it comes to the agriculture sector, but there's been no provision allotted at all for MSP. The fact is there are two schemes in the government that ensure the implementation of MSP. The Market Intervention and Price Support Scheme, MISPSS, and the Pradhan Mantri Annadata Aay Sanrakshan Yojana, PM ASHA. Both of those have witnessed consecutive reductions in the last 2 years, leading to a 20-25% cut in this year's budget. Now, the supplementary demands would have been the perfect place to cover up that hole. They have not done so. Having withdrawn the farm laws, how are they going to be able to promise MSP when they have cut by 25% the money available for MSP, sir? I would love the finance minister to explain this magic that is being inflicted upon the nation. Now, sir, there are a number of areas where the budget was itself deficient, and sorry to say, the supplementary demands for grants have not made up for it. One immediate area that we've talked about, of course, is healthcare, for which some additional funds have been provided, but there's still no money for any meaningful fiscal stimulus. All we have continued to see in the government's approach is a focus on liquidity rather than direct fiscal support. But giving cheaper credit to businesses is of no value unless consumption and demand increases. But demand won't increase unless people have money to spend. Where is the money going to come into the pockets of people? Even in Rega, sir, there are going to be a lot of people unemployed, unable to purchase. Tourism and hospitality, where are the supplementary demands for that? A very major industry in our country in severe crisis, and an industry which employs a lot of people, including semi-skilled labor. Who is going to ensure that money is available to boost that sector? Defense. You remember, sir, that I had to say in this House how shocked I was that the finance minister did not even mention the word defense in her budget speech. Again, here is a great opportunity to make up for that omission. We have a crisis on our borders with the Chinese sitting on territory that they never controlled before. Are we giving our military enough resources to protect this nation's security and self-respect? Why has the finance minister not asked us for money for the defense ministry in the supplementary allocations? We have, sir, a number of serious questions like this to ask. I do want to leave enough time to my colleagues, but I have to say that we had already seen, with the ignoring of agriculture and the ignoring of defense, I was forced to say this is not a Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan era under this government. It's a Na Jawan, Na Kisan budget that we have. And we are seeing the same thing continuing, sir, in the supplementary demands for grants. And I do want to say to you, sir, very frankly, that we are seeing this across the board. Look, for example, at the Women and Child Development Ministry. We have a situation in Women and Child Development where the Parliamentary Standing Committee has been forced to point out the gross underutilization of funds. Now, the finance minister is going to save that money, and I'll take just 1 minute to wrap up, sir. He's going to save that money and say, see, we have tried to meet our targets by saving money, not only by reducing expenditure, not merely by raising revenue. But the truth is that according to the Standing Committee, the important schemes, including Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, Poshan Abhiyan, etc., have not been able to spend the money allotted to them. They've grossly underused their money. And the result in this process is the government is able to point to savings, but the benefits have not reached the women of our country and the children of our country. It's no longer, sir, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. It is actually Paise Bachao, Beti Dubao. That's what's happening with this government.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you, sir. One last point, sir. Yesterday, in her reply on a different bill, the finance minister had made a particular claim, which I'm afraid I must address. She had specifically said that there was a tender allocated in my constituency to create a port of Virunium. She said in violation of the rules, a one-bidder tender. I do want to let her know, sir, there were actually 2 rounds of bidding under a PPP model. After the failure of those rounds, 3 rounds of bidding under the landlord model. And what is more, sir, I have the full details, but I'll be happy to share with her of the saga of those who have bid, why they were disqualified, and why we ended up with only one valid bidder.
Thank you.
Let me conclude, sir, by just saying, ultimately, these supplementary demands for grants are for the economic well-being of our country. We believe the government has not done a terribly good job of looking after our economy, sir. We certainly will not stand in the way of giving some of these resources, but we are constrained to point out that the government should stop miscalculating and making wrong claims when they come with their original proposals, and in their supplementary demands, they must recognize the real problems and ask for enough money to solve them rather than undershooting as they have again done. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Shri Nishikant ji Dubey ji. निशिकांत जी बोलेंगे.
crores of rupees. So the time allocated is only 4 hours. This is it. So last time also we didn't get a chance for the first batch of supplement.
The BSc, 4 hours.
Definitely, that's
There's
why.
sufficient time.
That's why I'm drawing your attention. Please enhance the time of discussion of this.
निशिकांत जी,
The 4 hours, I think. is
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय। मैं भारत सरकार के द्वारा लाए हुए सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स के समर्थन में बोलने के लिए खड़ा हुआ। अभी जब सभापति महोदय कांग्रेस के मित्र तकरीर कर रहे थे तो मुझे साहिर की एक लाइन याद आई कि कौन रोता है किसी और के खातिर है दोस्त, कौन रोता है किसी और के खातिर है दोस्त, सबको अपने ही किसी बात पर रोना है। समझाऊंगा जब एयर इंडिया की बात करूंगा, जब मनरेगा की बात करूंगा, जब सब्सिडी की बात करूंगा तो पूरा समझाऊंगा, पूरा कागज लेकर आया हूं। इतना बड़ा सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स लेके भारत सरकार माननीय मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में आई है, उसके पीछे के बैकग्राउंड को समझने की आवश्यकता है सभापति महोदय। आज पूरी दुनिया, अभी आईएमएफ का जो है अक्टूबर का रिपोर्ट आया है, इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड का अक्टूबर का रिपोर्ट आया है, और कोरोना के कारण, कोविड के कारण पूरी दुनिया कराह रही है। और मैंने फिजिकली सभापति महोदय, संजोग से ये पिछले 7-8 महीने में मैं यूरोप के भी कई एक कंट्री घूमने का मुझे मौका मिला है और मैं अमेरिका भी घूम कर आया हूँ। न्यूयॉर्क का टाइम्स स्क्वायर, जहाँ की लोगों को बैठने की जगह नहीं मिलती थी, जहाँ की सारी दुकानें अरबों अरबों रुपये में जाती थी, आज का हालात, मैं बहुत पुरानी बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं अभी आपको जून और जुलाई की बात कर रहा हूं सभापति महोदय, वहां के सारे दुकान खाली हैं। इतनी बड़ी बेरोजगारी है, लोगों को किराएदार नहीं मिल रहा है, बेचने की तो बात छोड़िए। और उन लोगों ने क्या किया? पूरी दुनिया में आज अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट अपने एक्सट्रीम पर है। हेल्थ का सिस्टम जो पूरी दुनिया कह रही थी कि यूरोप का हेल्थ सिस्टम बहुत अच्छा है, यूके का बहुत बढ़िया है, यूएस का बहुत बढ़िया है, इस कोरोना ने सबको सामने लाकर खड़ा कर दिया कि सबके मुकाबले आप माने या ना माने, मानना चाहते हैं या नहीं मानना चाहते हैं, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जो हमने दुनिया को दिखाया है, हमने जो 130 करोड़ लोगों को बचाया है, शायद इस तरह का हेल्थ सिस्टम कोई भी पैदा नहीं कर पाया। और वो कह रहा है कि पूरी दुनिया में आप समझिए कि जीडीपी का, जो आईएमएफ का, वर्ल्ड बैंक का, एशियन डेवलपमेंट बैंक का, ये सारे जो रिपोर्ट आए हैं, वो रिपोर्ट लगातार ये कह रहे हैं कि प्रत्येक देश की जीडीपी जो है, पूरे वर्ल्ड की जीडीपी लगभग 3.5% डाउन जाएगी। और उसमें जब हम क्वेश्चन करते हैं, क्वेश्चन करने के लिए खड़े होते हैं, तो हमको कम से कम प्रेज करना चाहिए। मैं, आप सभापति महोदय, कम से कम कांग्रेस के जो स्पीकर हैं, जो बोलने वाले थे, उनके माध्यम से कहना चाहता था कि हेल्थ वर्कर को आपने अप्रिशिएट किया, सभी करते हैं, जितने भी फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर हैं उनके कारण हम बच पाए, ये सभी करते हैं, मतलब पूरा सदन उनके साथ है। हम लोग लगातार बार बार अपने भाषण में इन चीज़ों का जिक्र करते हैं। लेकिन सरकार ने कुछ किया, वित्त मंत्री जी ने कुछ किया, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कुछ किया, और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं ने कुछ किया, उसके लिए भी तो कम से कम एक लाइन बोल देते। उन्होंने क्या बोला सभापति महोदय? उन्होंने बोला, एयर इंडिया के बारे में बात हुई, क्योंकि इस बजट में सबसे बड़ा विषय जो है वो एयर इंडिया है। और मुझे पता है कि मैं जब अपना बात खत्म करूंगा तो कई एक लोग जो है एयर इंडिया के बारे में अपना पूरा का पूरा भाषण जो है इसके ऊपर देंगे। एयर इंडिया क्या है, मैं एयर इंडिया से ही शुरू करना चाहता हूं। सभापति महोदय, जब अटल जी की सरकार थी, जब 2004 में हम सरकार से बाहर गए, तो एयर इंडिया एक अलग कंपनी थी और इंडियन एयरलाइंस अलग कंपनी थी। और यह पूरे सदन को जानने का सवाल है, और दोनों कंपनी प्रॉफिट में थी, दोनों कंपनी प्रॉफिट में थी। अचानक 2004 में हमारी सरकार चली गई और यह पूरा का पूरा ये सीएजी का रिपोर्ट है सभापति महोदय, यह सीएजी का रिपोर्ट है। सीएजी का रिपोर्ट क्या कहता है? यह 2011 की रिपोर्ट है, हमारे सरकार के सामने की रिपोर्ट नहीं है। इस पर चूंकि हम लोग बहुत चर्चा कर चुके हैं। सीएजी की रिपोर्ट एक एक चीज को बताती है। यह बताती है कि एयर इंडिया और इंडियन एयरलाइंस का मर्जर नहीं होना चाहिए, यह गलत डिसीजन था। एयर इंडिया बोर्ड ने भी कहा कि यह मर्जर नहीं होना चाहिए, इंडियन एयरलाइंस के बोर्ड ने भी कहा कि यह मर्जर नहीं होना चाहिए। इन दोनों के बोर्ड के मर्जी के खिलाफ इन्होंने मर्जर कर दिया। और आपको बताऊं, आज जब मैं बात कर रहा हूं, आज इतने दिनों के बाद 2021 अब 22 होने वाला है, पिछले 16-17 साल में सभापति महोदय यह मर्जर हो ही नहीं पाया। धर्माधिकारी की रिपोर्ट आ गई कि उनके जो एम्प्लॉई हैं, उनका जो लोगों का बिहेवियर है, काम करने का तरीका है, जो उनका इंसेंटिव देने का तरीका है, जो उनको सैलरीज है, ये दोनों को स्ट्रीमलाइन करो। आज तक वो धर्माधिकारी कमेटी की रिपोर्ट नहीं हो पाई और एयर इंडिया के एम्प्लॉई अलग रहे, इंडियन एयरलाइंस के एम्प्लॉई अलग रहे। एक कहावत है कि तेते पांव पसारिए जेते लांबी सोर, जितना आपका चादर है उतना ही बढ़ना चाहिए। बोर्ड ने तय किया, एयर इंडिया के बोर्ड ने तय किया, इंडियन एयरलाइंस के बोर्ड ने तय किया कि हम 17-18 प्लेन से ज्यादा खरीद पाने की स्थिति में नहीं है। लेकिन हमने क्या किया? मैं सभापति महोदय ये ईगॉम की रिपोर्ट लेकर आया। कांग्रेस के तत्कालीन जो वित्त मंत्री थे, बड़े नेता हैं, हम उनका बहुत सम्मान करते हैं, पी चिदंबरम साहब ईगॉम के हेड बने। और उन्होंने क्या किया? करे कोई भरे कोई। हमारे ऊपर जो क्वेश्चन करते हो सभापति महोदय, कांग्रेसियों को अपने से सोचना चाहिए। आपने क्या क्या किया, मैं पढ़ के बताऊं। आपने जो है भारत सरकार का, यह पीएसयू था, भारत सरकार की कंपनी थी, लेकिन वो प्राइवेट तरीके से चलती थी, प्रोफेशनल तरीके से चलती थी। भारत सरकार ने, ये ईगॉम की रिपोर्ट है, मैं प्लेस करूंगा, ये यहां टेबल पर रखूंगा सभापति महोदय। आपने सॉवरेन गारंटी दी, भारत सरकार ने सॉवरेन गारंटी दी और जो 17 प्लेन खरीदना था उसको 117 पर कर दिया। किसके पास ये कमीशन गया? किसके कहने पर आपने कर दिया? ये चिदंबरम साहब कौन होते थे ईगॉम में ये फैसला करने वाले? और यदि वित्त मंत्री के नाते पैसा नहीं था इंडियन एयरलाइंस और एयर इंडिया को, तो इतने प्लेन खरीदने की क्या आवश्यकता थी? और खरीदते तो ये सॉवरेन गारंटी देने का अधिकार किसने दिया? इस देश को बेचने का अधिकार किसने दिया? और जब आप सॉवरेन गारंटी देंगे और उस सॉवरेन गारंटी में एयर इंडिया जब पैसा लौटाने को तैयार नहीं है, उसके पास इतने पैसे नहीं है, इतनी प्रॉफिट नहीं हो रही है, तो क्या करेंगे? प्रत्येक साल 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 इस तरह की बातें होने लगी। जब लगा कि मामला नहीं सुधरेगा तो 2010-11 में एक टर्न अराउंड प्लान जो है इन्होंने फिर से फिक्स कर दिया। फिर से पैसा देने का जो है इन्होंने एक साधन क्रिएट कर दिया। मैं केवल बता रहा हूं कि यूपीए सरकार ने किस तरह से इस देश के साथ, इस देश के टैक्स पेयर के साथ कितनी बड़ी ज्यादती की। और वो टर्न अराउंड प्लान में वो भी सीएजी की रिपोर्ट है, और सीएजी की रिपोर्ट पूरे देश में पढ़ना चाहिए कि उस टर्न अराउंड प्लान के बारे में सीएजी ने कहा कि तुम पैसा कूड़े में फेंक रहे हो, इससे कोई एयर इंडिया की हालत नहीं सुधरने वाली है। लेकिन हम लगातार, कोई ऐसा बजट नहीं है सभापति महोदय, हम और आप एक साथ जो है सांसद रहे हैं, 2009-10 से कोई ऐसा साल नहीं है, कोई ऐसा बजट नहीं है, कोई ऐसा सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स नहीं है जिसमें कि भारत सरकार ने 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 करोड़ रुपया एयर इंडिया को नहीं दिया। किस लिए दे रहे थे भैया? जब आपको तय हो गया कि हम पैसा नहीं लौटा सकते, वो भी पैसा कम से कम नहीं भी कुछ तो 30-35 हजार करोड़ रुपया सभापति महोदय टर्न अराउंड प्लान में केवल करप्शन में हमने दे दिया। तो क्या करते? जब भारत सरकार ने यह तय किया और लगा कि हम टैक्स पेयर की मनी लेकर जा रहे हैं, और यह केवल और केवल उस वक्त के तत्कालीन प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह जी और चिदंबरम साहब के कारण ऐसा संभव हुआ, तो भारत सरकार ने तय किया, क्यों अच्छा तय किया कि इसको डिसइन्वेस्ट करना है अपने को। लेकिन डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए जो सॉवरेन गारंटी है, जो 117 प्लेन लेकर आप आए हैं, वो पैसा कहां से आप देंगे? और इसी कारण से जब ये टाटा को ये जाएगा तो उसको डेट फ्री कंपनी देना है, और इस कारण से ये हम लेकर आए हैं सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स। उसका कारण ये है कि डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट में कोई पार्टी आएगी कि नहीं आएगी ये तय नहीं था। आपको पता है कि हम पिछले साल भी इसको डिसइन्वेस्ट करना चाहते थे, लेकिन कोई आदमी खड़ा नहीं था, और वो कहते कि हम एंटीसिपेट नहीं कर पाए। हम एंटीसिपेट किए, लेकिन आपने कितनी चोरी की थी उसको एंटीसिपेट करने में हमको इतना वक्त लग गया, इसलिए हम इस बार लेकर आए। दूसरा
कांग्रेस के समय का कि कैसे देश को इन्होंने डुबोया है, वो स्पीकर 10 मिनट तक नहीं बैठते सुनने के लिए। ये कांग्रेस की आज के समय हालत है। ये है।
चलो निशिकांत जी बोलेंगे
जी।
नहीं, निशिकांत जी बोलेंगे, दूसरा कोई रिकॉर्ड में नहीं जाएगा।
सभापति महोदय, अब दूसरा सवाल है फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी का, और ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है सर। हम पार्लियामेंट में सभी लोग किसी न किसी कमेटी के मेंबर होते हैं, और हमेशा कहते हैं कि पार्लियामेंट की सुप्रीमेसी जो है ऊपर होनी चाहिए, हम सांसदों को पूछते नहीं हैं, कमेटी की रिपोर्ट को जो है कोई सीरियसली लेता नहीं है। लेकिन हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जो हैं वो बहुत ही बड़े डेमोक्रेट हैं सभापति महोदय, और वो पार्लियामेंट को और पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी को बड़ा सीरियसली लेते हैं। और हम तो अपोजिशन का, अभी मेरे बाद जो है वो मिस्टर मारन बोलने वाले हैं। ये रिपोर्ट है सभापति महोदय, ये पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी का केमिकल और फर्टिलाइजर का, और उदय प्रताप सिंह मेरे सामने बैठे हैं, संजोग से वो मेंबर हैं, और उसकी चेयरमैन जो है डीएमके की जो उपनेता हैं कनिमोझी साहिबा, वो इसकी चेयरमैन, उनकी ये रिपोर्ट है। और वो क्या कह रही है, ये रिपोर्ट में केवल 2-4 लाइन कोट कर दूं सभापति महोदय। वो ये कह रही है, ये 2020 की रिपोर्ट है, मतलब अभी की रिपोर्ट है, मतलब ये कोरोना होने के बाद की जो है ये रिपोर्ट, कोई पुरानी रिपोर्ट, क्योंकि 2019 में हम लोग जब आए जीतकर तब उसके बाद वो चेयरमैन बनी है, तो इसलिए उसके पहले वो चेयरमैन नहीं थी। ये कह रही है कि सिंस एनी ड्रास्टिक चेंज in the extent fertilizer subsidy policy would have huge bearing on the food security of the country, the committee would like to make the following recommendation। और वो ये कह रही है, मैं पूरा पढ़ना नहीं चाहता, कि भारत सरकार की जो ये फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी की जो पॉलिसी चल रही है, हम उससे सहमत हैं, और इसको जितना आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं उसके लिए जो कमेटी बनाई है नीति आयोग की और एग्रीकल्चर सेक्रेटरी के नेतृत्व में, यदि पूरी पार्लियामेंट का हम सोचते हैं कि छोटा सा एक रूप जो है स्टैंडिंग कमेटी होती है, स्टैंडिंग कमेटी की ये रिपोर्ट केवल फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी के लिए ही है, कोई अलग कोई रिपोर्ट मैं कोट नहीं कर रहा हूं, फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी के ही बारे में रिपोर्ट है। और यदि उस रिपोर्ट को भारत सरकार ने इन टोटो एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, और इसमें जो है किसानों को जो है 1.5 गुना 2 गुना दाम देना है, एमएसपी देना है, केवल किसानों की बात करते हो यार, किसानों को कैसे सुविधा देनी है। पूरी वर्ल्ड मार्केट में आज यदि डीएपी का रेट बढ़ गया, नाइट्रेट फॉस्फेट, यदि आपके पास उसका रॉ मटेरियल नहीं मौजूद है, और पूरी दुनिया में दाम यदि आगे बढ़ रहा है, यदि उसकी प्राइस को कम करने के लिए हम फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी लेकर आए, तो क्या काम कर दिया? क्या किसानों को फायदा देना कोई ये नहीं है, केवल सिंघू बॉर्डर पर जाकर हल्ला करना और किसानों को जो है मरवा देना, यही आपका उद्देश्य रह गया है कि किसानों को कैसे फायदा पहुंचाएंगे, कैसे कम रेट पर जाएंगे? क्या ये विचार नहीं है? और मैं आपको बताऊं सभापति महोदय, ये किस तरह की बातें करते हैं। मैं भी देख रहा था पेट्रोल डीजल पर बड़ा ह्यू एंड क्राई होता है, और यूपीए, और मैं आपके माध्यम से मैं माननीय मंत्री जो है फरहान, उनसे मैं पूछना भी चाहता हूं कि सदन को वो बताएं यदि मेरी समझ जो है वो कम है या ज़्यादा है या नहीं है। मुझे लगता है कि भारत सरकार को बताना चाहिए। पेट्रोल डीजल पर 2004-5 में जब ये सरकार बनी सर, मतलब मैं केवल ये कह रहा हूं कि किस तरह से न्यूसेंस इन्होंने क्रिएट किया। 1,40,000 करोड़ का 1,40,000 करोड़ का इन्होंने ऑयल बॉन्ड जारी किया। ऑयल बॉन्ड जारी किया, कोई 10 साल का ऑयल बॉन्ड है, कोई 15 साल का ऑयल बॉन्ड है, और वो केवल सामने जनता को दिखाते रहे, जनता को गुमराह करते रहे, टैक्स पेयर को गुमराह करते रहे कि हम आपको सस्ते दर पर डीजल और पेट्रोल दे रहे हैं, हम आपको सब्सिडाइज रेट पर डीजल और पेट्रोल दे रहे हैं। आज वो 10 साल 15 साल पूरा हुआ हमारी सरकार में सर, क्योंकि मैंने कहा ना कि करे कोई भरे कोई, हमने कर दिया और अब आपको जो भोगना है, क्योंकि इन्होंने तय कर लिया 2014 में सभापति महोदय। मैं कई एक कानून के बारे में लगातार बोलता हूं, चाहे वो मनरेगा की बात कर रहे हैं, चाहे लैंड एक्विजिशन की एक्ट की बात कर रहे हो, चाहे फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट की बात कर रहे हो। इनको यह लगता था कि जो आने वाली सरकार है उसको 4-5 साल में हम इतना बदनाम कर देंगे कि वो चली जाएगी। और उसमें मैं आपको बताऊं कि ऑयल बॉन्ड में 1,40,000 करोड़ का जो ऑयल बॉन्ड है, भारत सरकार को आज 3,20,000 करोड़ रुपया लौटाना पड़ा। क्या आप इसी तरह का वित्त चाहते हैं? इसी तरह का फाइनेंस चाहते हैं? क्या आप जनता को मूर्ख बनाना चाहते हैं? क्या आप जनता को गुमराह कर रहे हैं? 1,40,000 और वो 3,20,000 करोड़ जो ऑयल बॉन्ड लिया, वो ऑयल बॉन्ड किसी गरीब आदमी ने नहीं लिया सभापति महोदय। ऑयल बॉन्ड किसी न किसी पैसे वाले ने लिया, किसी न किसी कॉर्पोरेट ने लिया। और आप कहते हैं कि यह सरकार चलती है। किस तरह की दलाली आपने की है? किस तरह के लोगों को आपने ऑयल बॉन्ड दिया है? 1,40,000 करोड़ यदि 3,20,000 करोड़ में चला गया, यह किसका पैसा था? यह आम गरीबों का पैसा है, यह टैक्स पेयर का पैसा है, और आपने जो है इस तरह की बातें कर दी।
ये रिकॉर्ड में नहीं जाएगा, ये रिकॉर्ड में नहीं जाएगा। निशिकांत जी जो बोलेंगे वही रिकॉर्ड में जाएगा। आप बैठ जाइए।
मैं सभापति महोदय, इस बजट में कई एक ऐसी चीजें हैं जो गांव गरीब और किसान से जुड़ी हुई, सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स पे मैं बता रहा हूं। जैसे मैं आपको बताऊं कि एक जो है 53,000 इन्होंने दिया है कि फॉर पेमेंट ऑफ पेंडिंग एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव्स। इस कोरोना में या कहीं भी यदि हम एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं सभापति महोदय, तो मैक्सिमम जो एक्सपोर्ट है वो अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर करता है, छोटे उद्योग करते हैं, एमएसएमई करते हैं। और एमएसएमई एक ऐसा उद्योग है या अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर एक ऐसा चीज है जो कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों को रोजगार देता है। छोटी इंडस्ट्री होती है लेकिन ज्यादा रोजगार देता है। और यहां जो सबसे बड़ा विषय है कि रोजगार देना है तो कैसे देना है, कैसे लोगों को इन्वॉल्व करना है, खासकर गांव के लोगों को या छोटे लोगों को, अनस्किल्ड लेबर को या स्किल्ड लेबर को कैसे देना है। इसमें 53,000 करोड़ रुपया दिया है। और किस लिए दिया है? कि आपको हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा आप एक्सपोर्ट कर पाइए, ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों को रोजगार दे पाइए। क्या गरीबों को पैसा देना गुनाह है? क्या गरीबों को रोजगार देना गुनाह है? क्या इस बजट में? दूसरा मैं आपको बताऊं कि किसानों की बात कर रहे हैं, यहां महाराष्ट्र के भी शिवसेना के लोग बैठे हुए हैं, एनसीपी के लोग बैठे हुए हैं। यहां कपास कौन पैदा करता है? कपास ज्यादा जो है महाराष्ट्र के किसान पैदा करते हैं या गुजरात के किसान पैदा करते हैं। 7,000 करोड़ की सब्सिडी, उसके लिए इस सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स में यदि हमने व्यवस्था रखी है कि 7,000 करोड़ कॉटन की सब्सिडी देंगे, कॉटन ग्रोअर फार्मर को जो है हम मदद करेंगे, तो हमने कौन सा गलत कर दिया सर? इसके बाद मैं आपको बताऊं कि रेलवे पर आया। रेलवे एक बड़ा विषय है, चले गए 2014 के पहले यहां कोई ऐसा मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट नहीं होगा जो रेल से नहीं जुड़ा हुआ है। रेल एक ऐसा साधन है जो व्यक्तियों के क्षेत्र में आम गांव गरीब से जुड़ा हुआ है। आज उसको बजट एयरलाइंस के तौर पर एयरलाइन से मुकाबला करना पड़ रहा है। यदि फर्स्ट क्लास में यदि हम यहां से पटना जाना चाहें तो उसका किराया ज्यादा हो सकता है और ट्रेन का किराया ज्यादा हो जाएगा। उस दिन गडकरी जी ने अनाउंस किया कि हम आपको 4 घंटे में पटना पहुंचा देंगे, 10 घंटे में हम मुंबई पहुंचा देंगे। यदि इस तरह के कंपटीशन आपको एयरलाइन से मिल रहे हैं, क्योंकि एयरपोर्ट बहुत ज्यादा बन रहे हैं, उड़ान स्कीम में चप्पल पहनने वाले लोग भी जो है प्लेन पे चढ़ रहे हैं, तो क्या रेलवे को कुछ नहीं करना चाहिए? और रेलवे का क्या होता रहा 1947 से लेके 2015-16 तक? क्या होता रहा हमारी सरकार बनने तक सर? पूरे दुनिया में यदि रेल बनता है, रेल लाइन बनती है, तो वो सरकारें रेल लाइन बनाती हैं। रेलवे अपना पैसा खर्च करके दुनिया में भारत को छोड़कर कोई ऐसा उदाहरण नहीं है जहां की रेलवे को पैसा भी कमाना है, 13 लाख 14 लाख एम्प्लॉय को पैसा भी देना है और उसके बाद रेल लाइन भी बनाना है। उसका कारण क्या, नतीजा क्या होता था सभापति महोदय, कि केवल जो है छोटे छोटे पैसे देके एक एक रेल लाइन आप अनाउंस कर देते थे, पिंक बुक में आ जाता था, वो 20 साल 25 साल 30 साल 35 साल लग जाता था। भारत सरकार ने क्या किया, मोदी जी को यह लग गया कि रेलवे के लाइन बनाने का काम भारत सरकार का है और भारत सरकार को इसका पैसा देना चाहिए। इसीलिए सबसे पहला डिसीजन जो हमने लिया कि रेल बजट को जनरल बजट के साथ मिला दिया। उसका क्या फायदा हुआ कि आज वित्त मंत्रालय लगातार हमको पैसा देती है और उसी में ये जो 20,000 करोड़ आज साफ सफाई नजर आ रही है। आज स्टेशन रीडेवलपमेंट के नाम पर अभी गांधीनगर में जो है बहुत बड़ा काम जो है माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, आपको पता है कि उसके लिए किया। अभी वो हबीबगंज गए थे, मध्य प्रदेश में ये बैठे हुए हैं मध्य प्रदेश के उदय प्रताप जी। हबीबगंज का रेलवे स्टेशन किस जमाने में कैसा हुआ करता था, साफ सफाई नहीं होती थी, प्लेटफॉर्म का डेवलपमेंट नहीं होता था, गाड़ियां जो है छुक छुक चला करती थी। आज पूरा का पूरा इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन, आप समझिए लगभग 80-85% इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन हो गया है और हो सकता है कि हम साल 2 साल के अंदर जो है 100% इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन कर लें। ग्रीन एनर्जी की तरफ ये देश जा रहा है और उसी के लिए 100 ट्रेन जो हमने आजादी के 75 साल में 75वें महोत्सव में 75 फास्ट ट्रेन चलाने का, क्योंकि किसी भी छोटे से छोटे शहर के लोगों का, छोटे से छोटे गांव के लोगों का, वंचितों का, शोषितों का, दलितों का जो एक सपना है कि वो फास्ट ट्रेन में चले, उसके लिए यदि हमने पैसा मांगा है 20,000 करोड़ रुपया, यदि स्टेशन रीडेवलपमेंट के लिए मांगा है और यदि फास्ट ट्रेन बनाने के लिए आया है, क्या ये पैसा नहीं देना चाहिए? क्या आप ही की तरह जो है हम लोगों को परेशान करते रहते कि 20 साल 25 साल में अपने को ट्रेन बनाना है, ट्रेन चलाना है? तो मेरा ये कहना है कि इस तरह के जो तकरीर हम देते हैं सर, ये बहुत ही बुरी बात है। इसके अलावा मैं आपको बताऊं जो बजट है, रोटी कपड़ा और मकान, मैं माननीय मोदी जी जो कहते हैं वही करते हैं सर। सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, और इसमें 7,000 करोड़ रुपया इस सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स ऑफ ग्रांट्स में, यदि 2022 तक यदि लोगों को मकान देना है, 2024 तक यदि सबको नल का पानी देना है, तो उसके लिए पैसा देना है। शेड्यूल कास्ट शेड्यूल ट्राइब के लिए 7,000 करोड़ रुपया रखा है। मैं अब आपको आऊंगा एक विषय में 5-7 मिनट में सभापति महोदय खत्म करूंगा। एक जो इसमें बजट में हमने इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर के लिए लगभग 4,500 करोड़ 4,300 करोड़ के आसपास जो है इस बजट में हमने प्रोविजन किया है। और अभी यहाँ बुंदेलखंड के साथी बैठे हुए हैं और सभी साथियों को, उत्तर प्रदेश मध्य प्रदेश को मैं बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि पहला जो केन बेतवा लिंक है वो कैबिनेट ने पास भी कर दिया है। इसके लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को आप लोगों की तरफ से मैं बधाई और धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं। ये इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ वाटर ये बहुत पहले से प्लान चल रहा था सर, मैं ये नहीं कहता कि प्लान नहीं चल रहा था। नेहरू जी ने भी इसके ऊपर प्रयास किया, राव कमेटी बनी थी, राव कमेटी की रिपोर्ट आई। लेकिन यदि किसी ने सीरियस काम इस देश में यदि शुरू किया तो वो माननीय अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने शुरू किया सर। सुरेश प्रभु जी जो यहां रेल मंत्री रहे हैं, उनके नेतृत्व में एक टास्क फोर्स बना और टास्क फोर्स ने एक रिपोर्ट दिया सर 2003-4 में, और कई एक नदियों के बारे में कहा कि कहीं बाढ़ होता है, कहीं सुखाड़ होता है, तो अपने को इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर पर जाना चाहिए। क्योंकि जो बुंदेलखंड की मैंने बात की सर, वहां तो पानी ही नहीं है, पीने का भी पानी नहीं है, सिंचाई का तो छोड़िए आप, जानवर ऐसे ही बिना पानी के कई एक बार जो है उनकी मृत्यु हो जाती है, बुरा हालत है। रिपोर्ट आ गई, संजोग से 2004 में वाजपेयी जी की सरकार चली गई सर। 2004 से लेकर 2014 तक एक अल्ट्रा लेफ्टिस्ट गवर्नमेंट का जो है उदय हो गया सर, और कांग्रेस पार्टी के युवराज आ गए। उनको किसी चीज से मतलब नहीं है। उन्होंने वन फाइन मॉर्निंग उसको फाड़ा और कहा कि ये इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ वाटर जो है, ये जो रिवर है, ये संभव ही नहीं है, इसको करना ही नहीं है। और मैं 2 लोगों का, यदि ये बहस करना चाहेंगे तो मैं 2 लोगों का स्टेटमेंट कोट करना चाहूंगा सर। बड़े सीनियर नेता रहे, अब नहीं है, माननीय करुणानिधि जी। उन्होंने करुणा सीनियर नेता रहे, मतलब अब नहीं है वो जी, करुणानिधि जी ही कह रहा हूं, मतलब सम्मानित है। उन्होंने 2011 में राहुल गांधी जी को चिट्ठी लिखी सर, और उन्होंने कहा कि आप जो ये कर रहे हो ये गलत है, इस देश के लिए इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर जो है सबसे जरूरी है। और दूसरे उस वक्त के जो तत्कालीन एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर थे सर, शरद पवार साहब, उन्होंने 3 मीटिंग की राहुल गांधी को समझाने। राहुल गांधी कुछ नहीं थे सर, क्योंकि कांग्रेस को शासन, सत्ता, पार्लियामेंट पर भरोसा ही नहीं है। यदि आपको ध्यान हो, उस वक्त सर नेशनल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल बन गई। हम लोग भी जिस पार्टी से हैं, हमारे पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष हैं जगत प्रकाश नड्डा जी से सर, उनको किसी पद पर रहने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, जो कुछ कहना होता है वो आदेश कर देते हैं सर।
निशिकांत जी दुबे,
मैं नेशनल
दूसरा कोई
एडवाइजरी
रिकॉर्ड
काउंसिल
में
की
नहीं
बात कर रहा हूं
जाएगा।
सर। मैं नेशनल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल, जो भारत सरकार पैसा दे रही थी सर नेशनल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल के लिए,
बैठ जाइए, प्लीज बैठ जाइए।
मैं नेशनल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल की बात कर रहा हूं सर, जिसके लिए कि हम पैसा देते थे, टैक्स पेयर का पैसा जाता था, इस पार्लियामेंट से बजट पास होता था सर। नेशनल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल ने क्या क्या किया सर? आरटीआई आ गया। आरटीआई से क्या फायदा हो गया सर? क्या आपको लगता है कि आरटीआई ने सब कुछ ठीक कर दिया? क्या हमको नहीं लगता कि हमने जगह जगह पर ब्लॉक में एक दलाल पैदा कर दिए? कौन सा ऐसा चीज है जो आरटीआई ने आमूलचूल परिवर्तन कर दिया? कौन सी ऐसी चीजें हैं कि लैंड एक्विजिशन एक्ट से आमूलचूल परिवर्तन हो गया? कौन किसानों को 4 गुना पैसा देने को तैयार नहीं है? लेकिन सोशल इंपैक्ट असेसमेंट के कारण क्या स्थिति हो गई आज? कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट 2 साल 3 साल के पहले नहीं पूरा होता है। क्या मनरेगा में करप्शन नहीं है? आज यहां जितने बैठे हुए हैं सदन के लोग, अपने सभी दिशा कमेटी के चेयरमैन हैं, अपने दिल पर हाथ रखकर वो पूछें कि क्या मनरेगा से जो है करप्शन को हम नहीं बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं? किस तरह की चीजें हम करना चाह रहे हैं? तो मैं वही कह रहा हूं कि इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर जो ये सबसे बड़ा कंपोनेंट है सर, मतलब, और जिस पर कि भारत सरकार बहुत सीरियस है, उसके लिए ना उन्होंने शरद पवार साहब की बात मानी, ना करुणानिधि जी की बात मानी। बड़े से कोई मतलब ही नहीं है। हमारे यहां कहावत है सर कि अभिवादन शीलस्य और नित्यं वृद्धा पसे बिना चत्वारि तस्य वर्धन्ते आयुर्विद्या बलम। यदि आप बड़े बुजुर्ग का आदर करेंगे, उनके बातों का मान और सम्मान करेंगे, तो आपका आयु, विद्या, यश और बल सब बढ़ेगा। आज यदि कांग्रेस डिटोरिएट हो रही है तो उसका कारण यही है कि उसने बड़ों का कहना मानना बंद कर दिया। इसी कारण से ये इतनी बड़ी पार्टी जो है आज लीडर ऑफ द पार्टी नहीं, लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन नहीं बना पा रही है। उसने इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर नहीं बनाया सर। जब 2014 में माननीय मोदी जी आए तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये प्रोजेक्ट है, हमको गांव गरीब किसानों तक, किसानों के खेतों तक पानी पहुंचाना है, लोगों को ड्रिंकिंग वाटर देना है, और आज ये बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट होया, और इसीलिए इस बजट में उसका प्रोविजन है। मैं अंत में सभापति महोदय, क्योंकि हमारे बहुत स्पीकर हैं, मैं 3-4 चीजें जो है आपके माध्यम से वित्त मंत्री जी को कहना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि सप्लीमेंट्री डिमांड्स और ग्रांट्स में कई एक बातें नहीं होती हैं, और जो मेरा बहुत ही इमोशनल विषय है, और यहां संजोग से मेरे मित्र शिव कुमार उदासी साहब यहां बैठे हुए हैं, कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी जो 2013-14 से लगातार उस विषय को उठा रहे हैं। क्रिप्टो करेंसी एक ऐसा विषय है, माताब साहब भी हैं, हम लोग फाइनेंस कमेटी में 13-14 से लड़ रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है कि इसमें बहुत हेस्ट करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। यह ब्लॉकचेन टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसी है जिसका कोई मालिक नहीं है सर, और कई एक चीजें टेक्नोलॉजी है जिसको कि हम रोक नहीं पा रहे हैं। इस देश में मान लीजिए ड्रग्स हम नहीं रोक पा रहे हैं, तो ड्रग्स हम रेगुलेट नहीं कर देंगे। हवाला से पैसे का लेन देन होता है, ये पूरी दुनिया जानती है सर, लेकिन हम हवाला को रेगुलेट नहीं कर देंगे। यदि पोर्नोग्राफी को हम बैन नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, यदि टेक्नोलॉजी को बैन नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो उसको हम रेगुलेट नहीं कर देंगे सर। 4 लगातार जो 4 आरबीआई के गवर्नर रहे हैं सर, चाहे वो सुब्बा राव साहब हैं, चाहे रघुराम राजन साहब हैं, चाहे उर्जित पटेल जी हैं, चाहे शक्तिकांत दास जी हैं, वो लगातार अलग अलग फोरम पर ये बोलते हैं कि चिट फंड कंपनी है। इसीलिए मेरा आपके माध्यम से इस भारत सरकार से आग्रह है कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी का बिल लाने के पहले मुझे लगता है कि एक बार असेसमेंट करना चाहिए, और इसको यदि हम बैन कर पाए तो देश के लिए बहुत बड़ा उपकार हो जाएगा। दूसरा, हाउस में चर्चा भी होनी चाहिए जिससे कि सबों के व्यूज आ जाएं। दूसरा, जिस इलाके से मैं आता हूं सर, वो एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, और एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लिए एक तो हमने 115-117 एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट बनाए हैं, उसके डेवलपमेंट के काम चल भी रहे हैं, लेकिन जो नया बजट आने वाला है, यदि उसमें अलग से हम बजट का प्रोविजन कर पाएं तो मुझे लगता है कि उन जिलों के साथ एक न्याय हो पाएगा और वो भी एक मिलेनियम डेवलपमेंट गोल का जो टारगेट है उस पर वो जा पाएंगे। तीसरा जो हम लगातार क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं सर, उसमें एक चीज जो सामने आती है, जिस राज्य से मैं आता हूं, चाहे प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम सड़क योजना का काम हो, चाहे टूरिज्म का काम हो, चाहे एनएच का काम हो, हम पैसा देते हैं, केंद्र सरकार पैसा देती है, लेकिन वो राज्य सक्षम होकर काम नहीं करती। कहीं डीपीआर नहीं बनता, कहीं करप्शन होता है, कहीं चोरी होती है। और इस कारण से केंद्रीय योजनाएं सभी राज्यों में, जहां की राज्य सरकारें बहुत मजबूत हैं, वो अच्छा काम कर लेती हैं, लेकिन जहां हमारी जैसी सरकारें हैं, जो करप्ट सरकार है, वो नहीं कर पाती है। इस कारण से सफर होता है, आगे बढ़ जाता है कोई इलाका, जैसे महाराष्ट्र बहुत आगे बढ़ गया, गुजरात आगे बढ़ गया, तमिलनाडु आगे बढ़ गया, कर्नाटक आगे बढ़ गया। लेकिन हम जो ईस्टर्न इंडिया के लोग हैं सर, खासकर मैं अपने झारखंड की बात करता हूं, तो जो केंद्रीय योजनाओं का असेसमेंट है उसको एक प्रॉपर यदि कर पाएं और उसमें सांसदों की भूमिका को प्रभावी कैसे बनाया जाए, दिशा कमेटी से बहुत कुछ होता है लेकिन हम कुछ नहीं कर पाते हैं, तो उसके लिए अपने को मैकेनिज्म जो है तय करना चाहिए। मैं इतना ही कहूंगा कि माननीय मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में एक बड़ी सार्थक सरकार आई है और ये बहुत कुछ करना चाहती है। और एक चीज है जो कल माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि जब जब औरंगजेब आते हैं तो शिवाजी आते हैं, उसी तरह से जब देश में इस तरह के हालत हुए तो मोदी जी आए। और हमारे यहाँ रामायण की एक चौपाई है सर कि जब जब होई धर्म की हानि, 12 ही असुर अधम अभिमानी, तब तब धर प्रभु विविध शरीरा, हरहि दयानिधि सज्जन पीड़ा। लोगों का पीड़ा हरने के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में सरकार आई है। ये गांव गरीब किसानों के लिए अच्छा करेगी। इसी शब्दों के साथ मैं अपनी बातें समाप्त करता हूं। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
धन्यवाद दुबे जी। श्री दयानिधि मारन जी।
Sir, Vanakkam sir, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this occasion. Sir, first I would like to start my speech saying that Tamil Nadu has seen a record rainfall. This happens the third time in this last 200 years. The rainfall was similar to 2015, but because of the efficient steps taken by my Chief Minister, M.K. Stalin, we have ensured the damage was very limited. And in fact, sir, the Tamil Nadu government has asked the Finance Minister for a restoration of the amount for 3,554.88 crores, which we are yet to receive. I take this opportunity to stress upon this, and same time also to remind our BJP friends and also the Prime Minister, when some similar incident took place in 2017 in Gujarat, the floods came. Within 3 days, 500 crores was released for Gujarat. Sir, Tamil Nadu is also part of India. I appreciate the way Gujarat got the funds. We should also get similar funds, sir. It will be very appreciable, sir. Similarly, sir, I also heard upon the Finance Minister, sir, to stress upon there's a due of 4,943 crores of GST pending for states. And as you know, sir, states are losing their share with the new GST formula. I will urge upon the Finance Minister to release the funds at the earliest, sir. Sir, in the second batch of demands for supplementary grants, sir, nearly 3.73 lakh crores has been sought by the Finance Minister, sir. The House is definitely going to pass it. Sir, there are certain discrepancies or certain things, anomalies, which I like to point out. So, after much regrettable suspension, MP-led funds is back, sir. But the amount which is going to be given is only 1,153 crores, sir. I'm sure all the members will agree that we are a severe loss of face to our constituents. So for 750 members, 1,153 crores is very, very little, sir. Urge upon the Finance Minister to increase the funds for MP-led, sir. And similarly, sir, out of the 73 lakh crores, the Finance Minister has requested for 22,000 crores for Manrega. We can once again, sir, because of the COVID, long pending COVID, sir, the unemployment rate has increased. Several young youth are being jobless and are suffering, sir. Sir, and basically, if you see, sir, the latest available results of the quarterly periodic labor survey conducted by the Ministry of Strategic Programming Implementation show that unemployment rate in urban India was a level high at 9.4% in January March 2021 quarter, sir. It also showed that 23% of the urban youth in the age of 15 to 29 are remaining unemployed. So this is a very serious matter, sir. I'm sure the finance minister should take more effort. I'm sure in the coming budget she'll address this issue much more wisely, sir. So, if the 3,73,000 crores, which the lakh crores the finance minister sought, 22,000 crores for Manrega. Sir, but hoping 64,000 crores is for Air India. So one wonders, yes, a commitment made to Tatas that Air India will be handed over debt-free. So Tatas are won the bid for 18,000 crores. A secrecy claim, who's the second bidder, who's the third bidder, we don't know. Is as secret as the PM cash funds. We all want to know who are the other bidders. And only what we read from the newspaper, sir, it claims that the other bidder was SpiceJet. And one wonders where they had money, because already the courts are putting the SpiceJet in the bench, saying that they have to wind up the companies because they are not paid up the creditors. But sir, who was the... Sir, I'm talking. Wait. Nine. If you want to give it to me, give it to me. So out of the 18,000 crores, sir, Tata's is paying only 2,700 crores as cash. Yeah. So remaining 15,000 crores has been taken as absorbed as debt. And the government of India is giving 68,000 crores to wipe out all the debt. Sir, Rishikant Dubey ji has been always stuck in the memory loop. So it's 7.5 years since your BJP government is ruling the country. You still want to go to 2004, 2011. Why can't you start? We are in 2021 and the end of it. Sir, every time you want to start blaming from Jawaharlal Nehru to Indira Gandhi to Manmohan Singh, when are you going to own your responsibility? In 7.5 years, you could not turn a company around, or you made it worse. So there's a question. I'm not asking this question. Any common man with limited knowledge of economics might ask this question. When you are interested in putting 68,000 crores, why can't you put the remaining 18,000 crores and take the company and keep it running profitably? This is our national jewel. Why can't we do it, sir? Sir, a lot of doubts linger in the mind. Every time I enter the parliament, I see the 20,000 crore Central Vista project done by the Tatas. I do not know what is the understanding. Whether probably even this 2,700 crores is coming from the government to the Tatas, and Tatas are paying it the other way. Sir, it's just a doubt. As a common man, I'm just asking, sir, if I'm right, a lot of questions will be raised. No one stays in the government permanently. Everyone changes, and everyone changes. These all will come to question. Sir, if Tatas are the buyer, they have a past history of buying VSNL. And even the VSNL, sir, if I remember correct, they're supposed to hand over the excess land to the government. I don't know, the finance minister can answer, or if she wishes to not to answer, but whether the excess land which was part of VSNL, which they have closed and sold it for a profit, will it come back to the government or not? Sir, again, sir, Mr. Rishikant Dubey had spoken much about the fuel pricing. I'm glad they have now the guts to talk about fuel price, because they are reduced 10 rupees. After how many years of us shouting that you please reduce the cess, please reduce this, people are suffering. Sir, now they are ready to address the elephant in the room. Sir, what is the problem with you? Sir, today you made lovely advertisements saying that Prime Minister Modi is wiping the tears of the poor village woman. She not use wood and they cry with smoke. Now give your subsidies, give your entitlement for subsidized LPGs. And all of us believe the Prime Minister, and including myself, I gave it my, so whatever subsidy we gave it up and went for commercial or for gas cylinders. Sir, that time it was 490 rupees. Today, a domestic gas cylinder costs 915 rupees. Earlier, sir, when cooking, only the head of the family, the lady was crying. Now the entire family is crying. Sir, the commercial gas has gone to 2,234 rupees. Sir, and they are giving subsidy, sir, 162 rupees. is in 10 installments. Sorry, in 12 installments. Great, sir. So are giving installment 12 rupees a month, but the price has gone to 953 rupees. Sir, Minister, sir, I just started. Sir. I just started. I'm the only speaker, sir. I'm the only speaker. Only speaker. So, Minister of State for Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary, has stated that the collection from the levy of central excise duty on petrol and diesel increased from 1.78 lakh crores in 2019-20 to 3.72 lakh crores in 2020-21. This is April 22, April 2022, March 2. The total amount of tax given to state governments from the corpus collector under the central excise duty for the year 2020-21 is only 19,973 crores. The remaining money went to the center. So this is all the questions I'm not asking, sir. The common man is asking. Why can't you reduce the price? Sir, there's one more demon which we have to see, sir. So the finance minister is here. She brought the bill of the government, the insolvency in the bankruptcy code will solve the NPA crisis and will also address the disease. But we see, sir, a major fraud is happening in the disguise of the bankruptcy code, sir. Sir, large of public money, bank money is being written off. Sir, if you take a list, which has come, as I'm saying, the finance is aware. Sir, the haircuts which the buyer companies are getting is unbelievable. Bhushan Power, sir, 50% haircut received by JSW, Tata Steel, JS Steel and Tata Steel, sir. Alok Industries, sir, was a COC accepted a bid by Reliance Industries for haircut was 83%. Sir, and similarly, if you go on, there are so many, sir. I can say as ABG Shipyard, 80%, sir, and Monarch Ispat, 70%, sir, and so on. So many companies are going for the bankruptcy insolvency, sir. Sir, the finance minister earlier made a comment, sir. I would like to remind her about the comment, sir. Sir, the committee of creditors take a decision, and it's all based on the percentage of the loan they are given to the companies. When they are taking the company, it's mostly the banks. So I wonder, how can banks give a haircut of 70%, 80% to their in such a situation? Does the bank chairman have so much of power, or is it phone banking, sir? Are they getting a phone call from someone to accept to these kind of banking? Sir, and irony, sir, I should say, sir, most of these companies are being bought by their same owners in a different name. Basically, they are writing off their complete debt and getting the companies back. Sir, and one of the industries is, sir, it's Siva Industries, sir. He gets nearly 95% haircuts, sir. And it's happened, the NCLT itself asks, how can the bank take such a serious haircut? And you won't believe, sir, the buyer who had given the offer to the company was none other than the person Siva's father. He himself buys the company back. And, sir, and the irony is that, sir, he has agreed to pay 5 crores and the remaining amount in 6 months, sir. So this is the kind of things happening, sir. I'm sure we did what you did in a good intention is being misused. Sir, this will come to haunt you. Sir, a farmer, when he takes a loan, he doesn't get 95% haircut, not even 10% haircut. When children, parents take loans for education, they don't get any haircuts. The bank doesn't write off their loans. But, sir, their photographs are put in public. They are insulted, and most of the farmers commit suicide. Sir, but these people, this government seems to be patting the rich, not patting, pampering the rich. Sir, and only 5 or 6 of them where I can count with my fingers. Only though they are getting their companies exempted from these national bankruptcy codes. Sir, I can also say, sir, there's another group called, sir, Videocon Industries, sir. Sir, 64,838 crores was the amount, sir. But the Vedanta group took the company for 2,962 crores. So I can give on keeping a list of so many other companies which are there.
Kindly
Sir,
conclude.
No, I'm concluding, sir. I'm the only speaker, sir. All I'm asking, sir, when these banks are giving a haircut to these companies, who is eventually paying it? The banks are paying it. How does the bank pay? It's the public money. Isn't this a big scam, sir? The very idea is that to save the company, but you're killing our public banks. So I think the time has come for the finance minister to look into it. So basically, see, if a father of the person who's going insolvent is able to buy the company, what is the enforcement department doing under your wing? Are you encouraging it, sir? Or is it phone banking? And to top it all, sir, consultants have come. And consultants are not ordinary consultants, sir. They are all Rajagurus who are all sitting in the board of directors of RBI. They have Guru associates who sees all these companies. They are the consultants and they are controlling. They are having hand in glove with the banks. I don't know what is happening, sir. Of course, yes, I'm talking about Mr. Gurumurthy only. Yes, sir. Sir, I'm finishing. I'm winding up. Sir? Yes. Yes.
एक और है speaker.
No, I'm the
So
only
kindly
speaker.
conclude.
No, I'm the only speaker.
You are the only speaker?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
So, sir, in this situation, sir, I'm warning the government, as a public, when I see, when I'm not getting, as an individual, as a student, as a farmer, I'm not getting any haircuts. I'm not getting any. Sir, if you see this, sir, the kind of companies which have got their thing, you can say Vijay Mallya is a saint. Because Vijay Mallya borrowed 5,000 crores, the banks wanted 9,000 crores without haircut, but the Prime Minister said they got 14,000 crores of Vijay Mallya. He has paid all the money. Yeah, in fact, 3 times over. But these companies are taken over by the previous owners in different disguises. Sir, I'm bringing this point to the finance minister's view. I know sometimes we do something in good intentions, but these intentions are being manipulated. So when the things are manipulated, sir, in English, it's simply called corruption.
Thank you. Thank
Sir,
you very
I'm
much.
just concluding. It's simply called corruption. A large-scale corruption is taking place. And I wonder, when will the finance minister will wake up to see this, ensure that the public money in the banks are not taken away or given away to the rich. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Saugat Roy ji.
Sir, I shall be brief. I rise to speak on the second batch of supplementary demands amounting to rupees 3.83 lakh crores, of which the outgo is rupees 2.99 lakh crores. The rest will be made up by savings of the government. But we may take it that by the end of October 21, already 52% of full year expenditure target has been completed. So it is highly unlikely that fiscal deficit will exceed the budgeted 15.1 lakh crores at the rate which spending is going on. One reason is also that substantial portion of ambitious F 2022 disinvestment have faded. So ultimately we'll land with a bigger fiscal deficit. Now if we look at the supplementary budget, sir, there are 4 big ticket items. Fertilizer subsidy, 43,430 crores. 2 pending export promotion subsidies, and then Air India, 62,000 crores, and expenditure towards food storage and warehousing, 49,805 crores. Now, if we really look at it, this is a budget for disinvesting Air India. Before I go to that point, I may remind Mr. Nishikant Dubey of a mistake he made. He said the fertilizer subsidy we are giving for imported is for nitrate, etc. No, it's mainly for phosphatic and potassic fertilizers, not for nitrate fertilizers. Number two, Mr. Dubey also said that Mr. Modi is the greatest democratic prime minister. I may ask him, whom did the prime minister ask when he put the whole nation in a queue during his ill-conceived demonetization, which recovered no black money? And whom did the democratic prime minister ask when he introduced the 3 farmers bill, which he had to withdraw after a year of agitation and 700 farmers dead? So let us not talk of Narendra Modi and democracy. देखिए सर, ये he has become a professional heckler. उधर से जाके भाषण देगा, इधर आके डिस्टर्ब करेगा, and you allow that every day. If his seat is there, why does he go and sit there? Why can't you enforce that? Every day he comes here to heckle and disturb the
कौन सा
opposition.
नियम आपका?
ये क्या बात है?
उनका ही
आप लोग
रेजिंग
का
पॉइंट
फेवरेट
ऑफ ऑर्डर.
पीपल है, फेवरेट चिल्ड्रन है. Why does he change his seat to heckle the opposition? Why?
अधिकार है ना
ये तरीका नहीं है.
अधिकार है मेंबर का
grants
पॉइंट ऑफ ऑर्डर चेयरमैन सर पॉइंट ऑफ ऑर्डर तो मेंबर का अधिकार है
constituting same and no discussion may be raised on the original grants nor policy underlying. मैंने जानबूझकर सर शशि थरूर साहब ने डिमोनेटाइजेशन के बारे में बोला, मैं 1000 चीजें बोल सकता था, मैंने नहीं बोला सर, क्योंकि इसके स्कोप में नहीं आता है. इसीलिए ये जो पीएम के बारे में बोल रहे हैं और डिमोनेटाइजेशन के बारे में बोल रहे हैं, ये स्कोप नहीं है, इसीलिए इनको नहीं बोलना चाहिए सर. दैट्स ऑल.
सकता है ये पार्लियामेंट में पीएम इज द लीडर ऑफ द हाउस. क्या बोलता है इसने? छोड़ो, ठीक है, होएगा.
प्रोफेसर सौगत राय आप बोलोगे.
चाकरी रखे थे, ठीक है सर. now I'll mention about Air India. 62,000 crores is being given towards Air India. Now, how is the money going? Air India had a total debt of 61,562 crores. Now, Thales, that is a Tata company, will take over 15,300 crores. Remaining 46,262 crores will be transferred to AIHL, that is New Air India Asset Holding Company. तो अब देखिए, Tata will only pay 18,000 crores. What they will get, and they will take debts of 33,000 crores. Tata is getting Air India as if we are catching their feet and begging them to take it. And with this, government is spending 62,000 crores. Can you beat that? You request Tata, please take over. We shall give all the money. We shall take all the debts. You please save us and run Air India. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had created the national carrier Air India and Indian Airlines. These people are selling the family silver. And in history, the present finance minister will be known as the biggest saleswoman, because she is selling not only Air India, she is selling 2 banks, 1 insurance company, all nationalized during Indira Gandhi's time. She is selling BPCL. She is disinvesting the biggest insurance company, Life Insurance Corporation of India. Is this? Vizag Steel Plant also. And Vizag Steel Plant, our Andhra friends are saying, she is also selling. So हम कहते हैं जो बेचते हैं ज़्यादा, उसको बेचू बाबू कहते हैं. उसका क्या नाम फेमिनिन जेंडर में होगा हमें पता नहीं. ये सरकार बेचू बाबू का सरकार है. Sir, what I want to say is that the economy is in a bad state. Very bad, very bad. 2020-21, we had a contraction of 7.4%. They are saying that economy is showing green shoots. The finance minister went to some place, Chandigarh or somewhere, to attend a party function. She said, why the economy is improving? GST and direct tax collection, that is rising. Now, why is this rising? This is rising due to inflation. The cost of same thing, which used to be sold for 10 rupees, has become 12 rupees. So you take GST out of that, you will get more money. What is happening is that inflation is driving their so-called revival path. And this will ultimately land the country in a very difficult situation. Look at the price rise, sir. Sir, you are still a practicing doctor, surgeon in Ahmedabad. You know, you have to go to the market, you are not a minister. Go to the market and find out about the prices. Leave aside fuel, leave aside LPG. What is the price of vegetables? What is the price of edible oils? The inflation has hit the middle class has fixed income people terribly. So in this situation, it's a strange situation because the minister, I have read all her speeches. She has not given any explanation as to when so many people lost their jobs due to the pandemic. How is that the share market is rising? Stock market is rising because the big companies are functioning with lesser people. That is giving them more profit margin. And if I may say so, without mentioning any individual's name, it's only 3-4 people in India, 3-4 companies which are reaping the benefit of this government. In the name of liberalization, they are handing over the country's economy assets. They are selling the family's silver. Ultimately, the Adanis will have all the airports, Tata will have Air India, and Minister will also do the same thing, sir. You as an independent doctor, you must intervene, put your voice that I don't like country's assets being sold to Tatas, Ambanis and Adanis. They are not the arbiters of the nation's
Thank you
freedom.
very much.
Sir, that's why
Thank you.
supplementary budget we have to pass. But the country has come to such a pass. The economy has come to such a pass. Contraction of 7.4% last year, no signs of positive recovery yet. And unemployment is showing no signs of receding. That's why, sir,
Thank you.
I totally criticize the government and its attitude of rampant sale of public sector assets
Thank you very much.
to the few industrials.
Thank you, Professor. Shri P.V. Mithun Reddy ji.
Thank you, sir, for letting me talk on this. At the outset, I would like to congratulate our Honorable Finance Minister for having put all her energy. She has led very dynamically with a lot of enthusiasm to put the country's economy back on a revival trajectory. And I would also point out that quarter-on-quarter GDP growth of 8.4% was reported on constant prices. And further, for the first half of this financial year, a GDP growth of 13.7% was reported on the corresponding period of the previous year. And even the GST collections have substantially increased year on year. I respect what the senior Dada has spoke, but I think the rise in inflation and the rise in GST collections, there's a lot of difference. GST collections have definitely increased, and we should definitely appreciate the Honorable Finance Minister, because if something goes wrong, definitely we point out things at her. When something is right, I think she needs to get the credit. This is in the national perspective. But I would like to talk about my state's issues, sir. Before I go into that, I would like to recall that both the NDA and UPA came together and split our state. State bifurcation was thrust on our state, even though we didn't want the bifurcation, people of Andhra didn't want. But that's an old story, sir. But during bifurcation, two things were promised to us, sir. We call the Parliament Temple of Democracy. Every word has to be respected here. The previous Honorable ex-Prime Minister Manmohan ji and the current Honorable Prime Minister Shri Modi ji, both of them promise various things, sir. And I think this is one of the few issues where NDA, UP have come together and without any dispute have they passed this act and they have split the state. So I would like to recall, sir, that special category status was promised to us, sir. I will tell you why it was promised also, sir. Sir, on the day of when the state was split, if you see the state's per capita, state's own revenues, for Telangana it was 15,454 rupees, and for Andhra Pradesh it was 8,979 rupees, sir. There is a huge difference, and we had unviable finances, and special category status was promised, sir, both in the house and off the house, sir. So we demand the government should keep up its word, because we are really worried about the future of our state. We were given unviable finances. We don't have a way out, sir. And even AP Reorganization Act, various promises were made in the AP Reorganization Act, and the tenure of the AP Reorganization Act is for 10 years, and it's almost 8 years which have passed now. There's just 2 years left. There are various promises which have to be fulfilled, sir. Before I go into the details of the AP Reorganization Act things, I would like to tell a story, sir, I mean, with your kind permission. So once, just to point out the attitude, sir, once there was a great king who wanted to help a state, sir. So he called all his wise men and he said, work out something and you help that state. So the king, once he told this wise men, the wise men sat together. They said, okay, we will give you a painting of a majestic tiger so that you will overcome all your troubles and things. It will be a very valuable asset, sir. So the wise men sat and they said, okay, the tail should not be so long, make it a little bit short. And they said, one other wise man said, so many stripes are not there in most of the tigers, so reduce the stripes. And one more person said, make the ears short. And one more wise man said, the paws are big, make them small. And finally, the people were so many, were anticipating what was there, and there was a big unveiling ceremony. Finally, it was unveiled. They found a cat, sir. It was not a tiger. It was a cat. I just want to tell this story because I want to point out the attitude, sir. All the promises made in the AP Reorganization Act, they're finding one way or the other, sir. There were some irresponsible answers, which I don't want to mention the name. They were saying the tenure of AP Reorganization Act is for 10 years, and it's only 8 years past. Still, we have 2 years to fulfill, sir. What is this sort of answers, sir? We don't accept this sort of answers. Even Polavaram project, they find n number of reasons saying a lot of funds are blocked. Even the revenue deficit gap, there have been a lot of issues which have been pointed out and not fulfilled. Even Petro corridor, now we've been asked to pay viability gap with thousands of crores upfront for setting up the Petro corridor. Even the backward districts grant, which was promised to us, it is very meager, sir. We were promised in the lines of Bundelkhand package or anything. We don't understand why we are being treated like this, why Andhra Pradesh is being treated in this most pathetic way. So we request, sir, we request the government, we request the Honorable Minister, we request the Council of Ministers, even the Honorable Prime Minister to keep up what they have promised, sir. It's not just the NDA, even the UPS, sir. I want the attention of the House because both of them promised, both of them split our state, but now things are happening. Now we are not in a very good situation. So we want the government to help us out in this situation, sir. I would like to point out about the Polavaram project, sir. The Polavaram project was started by late Honorable Chief Minister Y.S. Rajashekhar Reddy. It was designed for 194 TMC. And the project was the execution started before the AP Reorganization Act was announced and before the state was split. The design was for 194 TMC, sir. But if you see, after the AP Reorganization Act was passed, and I think I should read out what was written in the AP Reorganization Act also, sir. It says the Polavaram irrigation project is hereby declared to be a national project. And the other point which I would like to read out is the central government shall execute the project and obtain all requisite clearances, including environmental, forest, rehabilitation, and resettlement norms. Sir, what does this mean, sir? It means that central government will execute this project, And whatever was designed, whatever was planned for 194 TMC, it will be executed and the whole payment will be made, all clearances will be done. What happened after that is really, I think it's really pathetic, sir, because I want to bring to the notice of the House, sir. After a while, they said, like, we will not permit drinking water component. No other national project in the country, there's been a discrimination for drinking water and irrigation component, which is not fair. And even the revised cost estimate, though it was approved by Technical Advisory Committee, and even the revised cost committee have approved for 55,656 crores. They said, no, we will accept only the one earlier, and it has not been approved in the cabinet. Sir, how are we concerned with this, sir? You clearly promised that we will finish the project at 194 TMC. Whatever was being executed, it was not changed after the Reorganization Act was done or after the state was split. It was designed for 194 TMC, sir. It's basic logic. But why should we go through all this, sir? Why is the central government not executing this project? I agree, sir, they have given to the state, but it was done by the NDA, and when TDP was part of them, I don't know what transpired between them, and it was agreed that state will execute, sir. But now the people of Andhra Pradesh are suffering. Polavaram project is the lifeline of Andhra Pradesh. Through yourself, I request the Honorable Finance Minister, Madam, kindly permit the water component, Madam, because no other national project there is a discrimination for water component and the irrigation component. So kindly permit this so that the project will not be hampered. And we also request, ma'am, I know you have constraints, it has to go to the cabinet. I also request you to consider sending the revised cost estimate of 55,000 crores to the cabinet so that the project is executed, ma'am. Sir, and I would like to talk about the other things also, what is there, sir. There's inadequate coverage of beneficiaries under National Food Security Act for Andhra Pradesh. So if you see the national level, 75% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population are covered under targeted public distribution system. But for our state, sir, though our GSDP is much lower than various other states comparatively, we have only 61% of rural population and 41% of urban population covered under targeted public distribution scheme. For example, you compare with Karnataka, Gujarat, Maharashtra, they all have above 75% or 76%, but we have only 60%. So I would like the government to take a note of this and kindly help us out in this. And a request for pending amount of almost 1,700 crores is pending with civil supplies. It's the 10% withheld amounts for the past 6 years. Almost 1,700 crores is pending, and we put several requests for this. And there's one more promise made on the floor of the House. It says that resource gap funding by Government of India for the first year after the bifurcation took place. So even the CAG has audited and given that they've pegged it at 16,078 crores, and there was another other things. So the total resource gap for that year was 22,948 crores, but subsequently, they came up with a new concept of a standardized expenditure, and we were permitted only 4,000 crores, 4,117 crores. So through yourself, I request the Honorable Minister and the government, sir, to consider this and help us out. And recently, floods have devastated 4 districts of Andhra Pradesh. So there was huge damage. Almost, if you see, like 44 people died. Even a SDRF constable died, and there were like 1,400 villages and almost 196 mandals which got affected, and there's huge damage which has happened. So I request through yourself, I request the government to release an amount of at least 1,000 crores as interim relief, and also depute interministerial central team to assess the damage and losses caused by the heavy rains. So there were unprecedented rains, sir, not even like, I think in the last 200 years, these were the most heaviest rains. And a lot of tanks got breached, a lot of people lost their lives. So I request the government to act in time, sir. If they help us at a later date, it will not be much useful, because right now it's the time for them to help us out. And I also make a request to the government regarding Visakhapatnam steel plant. So through yourself, I request the government not to privatize Visakhapatnam steel plant, sir, because it is a very good asset. We know there are losses, but it has a huge land bank, and provided we give them a captive iron ore mines, sir. I mean, it is not a loss for the government to give captive iron ore mines to Visakhapatnam steel plant, because when we auction iron ore mines, there is an element of profit for the contractor and there's a percentage to the government, sir. But when the government allots to Visakhapatnam steel plant, the complete profit is transferred to the government subsidiary. Visakhapatnam is, of course, a government asset. And the valuation of the asset also will go up. We can actually restructure all the finance. I mean, you can do a very good financial restructuring. And I think it will be a very profitable asset, sir. So we request the government to reconsider and not to privatize. Our party demands that the Visakhapatnam steel plant is not privatized, and the government should run the Visakhapatnam steel plant, sir. And I will also like to bring to the notice of the government that post-bifurcation, we don't have tier 1 cities, sir. We have all medium-sized cities. So we are not getting enough investments in the medical sector. We suffered in COVID, sir. Our patients had to go to Hyderabad or Bangalore or Chennai for better treatment. We had very few hospitals. So our Honorable Chief Minister has come up with 13 new medical colleges and hospitals, because there is no other option. When private investment is not coming, the government has to step in and do. So even the Honorable Prime Minister has announced that the Government of India will sanction 1 new government medical college for every uncovered district. So I request, through yourself, I request the Honorable Minister and the government, sir, so to help us out in the construction of these medical colleges. And I would also like to bring to the notice of the Minister that she has, that cryptocurrency, whatever regulation is being done, I would also know, I'd also like to understand what is the, what regulation or what's the government doing to regulate these non-fungible tokens, because it is also, it also needs to be regulated. And in the end, sir, I request the government, sir, to increase our MP lads, because MP lads are most effectively used when we go into the constituency. We can help people then and there. We don't need, it cuts down the red tape. So the amount we increase is directly going to go into the, going to help the public, sir. So through yourself, I request the Honorable Finance Minister to consider increasing MP lads. And in the end, I request once again, I request the Honorable Finance Minister and I request the government, I request even the Prime Minister to be sympathetic towards Andhra Pradesh. Please help us out. We have suffered enough, and the tenure of the AP Reorganization Act is just 2 more years. So kindly help us out. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.